Senator Cory Booker just made history, holding the Senate floor for a record 23 hours in a fiery rebuke of Donald Trump and the GOP's agenda, from healthcare cuts to Elon Musk's shady government takeover. Cory Booker didn't hold back. Question is, what does it mean? Is this political theater, or is this an actual fight, however imperfect, for the people? On the Senate floor, Cory Booker called out Republicans for pushing dangerous policies that could absolutely devastate working class Americans, especially Black and brown communities. He invoked John McCain's legendary healthcare vote, warning that Trump and his allies are coming for Medicaid and more. He gave this marathon speech that he delivered without food, without rest, without a bathroom break. And he was delivering a fairly clear message. Let me be clear. This wasn't a filibuster. This was just a message that these are, quote, not normal times in America. That's a message that a lot of people need to hear, that people need to be reminded of. You know, he decided over this 2-day period to really break down what he considers to be the significant harms that President Trump has presented to the American people. Just for context, if you want to nerd out on this, the record that he set today, not that long ago, was 25 hours and 5 minutes. Now, before that, the record was 24 hours and 18 minutes. That was 1957. You want to know who the person was? It's Strom Thurmond. And guess what Strom Thurmond was rebuking at the time? Homeboy was against the Civil Rights Act. So this is definitely a different kind of energy, I'll just say. Anyway, nothing got done today. No legislative business. No advancement of any congressional labor went on. It's also important to note that this wasn't a pushback against a specific bill. This wasn't one of those moments where Cory Booker was trying to block a bill or rebuke a bill or push back against the bill or garner support for or against the bill. That wasn't it. He used this as an opportunity to speak out against the Trump agenda. And it's so interesting to me that so many of you all are asking me what I think about it. It makes me think, and I ain't trying to, subject y'all to any psychological analysis, no undue psychological analysis. But I will say, it seems like some of y'all are afraid to say what y'all think about this. That some of y'all are like, this look kind of whack to me, but I don't want to say it. Or y'all like, yo, this looks pretty awesome, and I don't want to say it because I'm scared I'm wrong. Like, there's something to it, because y'all don't usually ask me this fervently and this consistently what I think about it. But I'm going to tell you what I think about it. First, Cory Booker has a history, and I would argue a knack for spectacle, for making a spectacle. This is the guy that, when he was mayor of Newark, would, sleeping in the housing projects. And, he just had a way to draw attention, to get eyeballs on him, to get the world to pay attention to him. And that's not a criticism. It's not a dig. It's not a slight. Political activism requires a spectacle. Political organizing requires a spectacle. Political strategies and tactics across the board require some level of dramatization. Because right now, as we see, the whole world is, or at least the whole country, is talking about Cory Booker's actions, which then gets us to talk about Donald Trump's administration. So I'm not surprised that Cory Booker did this. This is kind of what he does. And I'm not against the spectacle. The spectacle is important. It's always important to have people draw attention to a problem, to, as Dr. King said, dramatize a situation. I'm with that. Question is, what are we dramatizing? What are we not? It is mind-boggling to me that someone could spend 25 hours on the floor criticizing Trump and Trump's administration without speaking about the genocide in any substantive way. That's just me. There's many issues on the table. If you say he was just focusing on domestic policy issues, maybe. But Cory Booker is an art scientist. Cory Booker is super pro-Israel, and so it's not a coincidence that that of all the atrocities, all the awfulness that he thinks about Trump, somehow that didn't make the cut. Just want to point that out. But beyond that, Cory Booker spoke to some major issues that affect corporate America, that affect Wall Street, that affect Main Street, that affect the people in the projects, that affect the people in the C-suites. He went across the board to talk about the relationship between those things. I'm not saying he was giving shout outs or showing love to the 1%. I'm saying he was talking about the relationship between these policies that benefit the 1% and the realities on the ground. I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm glad that he drew like the policies. Cory Booker, I wish were to the left of where he is. I wish Cory Booker were actually having a critique of capitalism. I wish Cory Booker wanted to change fundamentally the way this world, or at least this country, operates as. But he wasn't. But he's still saying, look, y'all, there's a fire. Look, y'all, we got a serious fundamental problem in this country that can't be fixed when Donald Trump is president. In fact, it has been created or at least exacerbated because Donald Trump is president. I'm with all of that. And if it gets people paying attention, if it gets people talking, then it was not in vain. But let's be clear. These spectacles are not the work. They are an entry point into the work. Yes, call out Elon Musk. Yes, talk about the healthcare cuts. Yes, talk about the job loss. Talk about all of that. But none of it's going to amount to a hill of beans, as the kids say in the streets, if we don't do some real organizing work elsewhere. If we don't do real political education elsewhere. Because while he talked for 25 hours, people weren't listening for 25 hours. This was the spectacle. Just like when Dr. King stood on that Pettus Bridge, that was the spectacle. That was not the work. I mean, it's part of the work, but that's not the totality of the work. Cory Booker drew attention, but how are we going to organize? How are we going to teach? How are we going to pull? And how are we on the left, the real left, going to say, look, Cory Booker took us here, but there's more to go. There's more of a critique. There's a more substantive analysis here. Because if we don't have a critique of the state, if we don't have a critique of capitalism, if we don't have a critique of these mechanisms that sort of shape how the world operates, then all we're going to do is wait for another liberal messiah. We're going to wait for the next Gavin Newsom or the next Andrew Cuomo or the next Tim Walz or the next Josh Shapiro. We're just going to be waiting for the next Democratic leader to come and take us into the same ridiculous hellhole. We need more than that. I don't fundamentally, just to tie this thing up, I also don't fundamentally trust Cory Booker. Cory Booker, like I said, has a knack for the spectacle. And while there's value to the spectacle, we also can't separate that. We can't disconnect that from self-interest. We can't disconnect that from careerism. We can't separate this from the fact that he wants to be the next vice president. And in the same way that he put on that public spectacle in Newark so that he would have enough eyeballs to be the senator from New Jersey, now them eyeballs are going back, and he's generating something so that in 2 years, we're saying, oh, wait a minute, maybe Cory Booker should be the nominee for president. Maybe he's the next guy. Maybe he's got the stuff. If he doesn't, maybe he'll be Gavin Newsom's VP. Maybe he'll be Bernie or AOC or whoever the hell is next up. You know, Tim Walz, Josh Shapiro, whoever. He'll be their VP. This feels like just a play for a longer play. I don't trust Cory Booker. Cory Booker has not given us reason to trust Cory Booker. And I don't dislike Cory Booker. Interpersonally, he's great. But it's, you don't meet too many politicians that play the long game. And who have a very clear career path. You don't meet many who have more of that than him. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, so shout out to Cory Booker, I guess, for this political victory. Set a record. I hear Chuck Schumer saying, "We're so proud of you." When Chuck Schumer says he's so proud of you, you're probably doing something wrong. And again, I can't let Cory Booker off the hook for his it's awful policies from neoliberal corporate America kissing up policies to the low down genocidal Zionist invasion of Gaza support kind of policies. I can't rock with any of that when it comes to Cory Booker.